Hi, I'm Lamia Chaudhary, and today I'm going to talk about seasonal forecasting. Well, before I start this, I want to mention that I'm a current graduate student, and I'm still learning about business analytics. So, if I'm wrong somewhere, feel free to correct me. I will really appreciate that. Come, whomever is watching this, and also if you know something better than I do, just let me know. I will really appreciate that. And well, that's also first. I really want to apologize if I say something wrong during this video. But yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to talk about the seasonal forecasting. Okay. So now, what is seasonal forecasting? Seasonal forecasting is a process of predicting future trends and the fluctuations for a given period of time. So as you can see here at this graph, like we can see some uptrends and downtrends here, and as the graph says, it's a coffee sales forecast. So you can already understand that we are here forecasting how the sales for coffee is gonna look like over a certain period of time. So here you can see right here on January, it shows a downtrend here. Whereas in July, like around July, it shows an uptrend. So the seasonal forecasting, one of its motives is to find out how the business gonna look like over a certain period of time. We can use it for coffee sales forecast or something that's kind of a seasonal product. So we can see its uptrends and downtrends. Okay. So now, why we use seasonal forecasting? Well, businesses use seasonal forecasting to decrease their business cost. Obviously, like if they know that around certain period of time, let's say in July, it sees a downtrend, so the business will try to decrease their business cost around that time. And also, they use it to understand the pattern, to kind of see and speculate how things gonna go over a certain period of time. And also, in order to hire more staffs, they can also look into this kind of data. And if they can see a trend where it shows an uptrend, they can always hire more staff. And whereas on the other side, if they see a downtrend, they can like hire less people to their organization or for the business. So that's the other reason why seasonal forecasting can be really useful. Again, inventory management, same thing. Like if a business sees an uptrend or a downtrend, they can always manage their inventory accordingly. And then they can also go for push strategy where the businesses can find a downtrend. Well, they can target that time and they can come up with some push strategies to increase their sales. And last but not the least, businesses go for seasonal forecasting either to increase profit or at least like decrease loss. Like they don't want to lose money, right? That's the main motive of a business. Okay. So we have like, I'm sorry. Okay. So here I'm going to talk about two methods. One is additive one and another one is the multiplicative one. So the additive ones is basically when the components of that particular time series are added, whereas the multiplicative ones are the ones where components of the time series are multiplied. And then for the additive method, seasonal nature, like the trends we are talking about, the trends nature remains kind of the same, similar. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Whereas for the multiplicative one, we can see a variation in the nature, in the seasonal nature. And it always, like, typically it shows an increase over time. Okay, now let's look at the picture. Here, for the additive ones, you can see that they all have kind of a similar pattern. Like, this is also increasing. It's an uptrend, but they kind of have a similar pattern here, like a similar kind of picture, trend, or whatsoever you want to say about it. I'm sorry. So, and the multiplicative ones, you can see that it just gradually increased, right? So that's the basic difference there. Now I'm going to move forward to the calculation part of this seasonal forecasting. Okay. Well, I'm going to share this one. Right. Okay. Now, if you can see that for the calculation, we need a base, a trend, a seasonal index, cycle, our forecast model, or the formula. I have already put the formula here in the worksheet. I'm going to show it to you, don't worry. And we also need to find out or calculate the error and squared error, and also the sum of squared error. Now, the seasonal forecast, its main goal is to minimize the sum of squared error. Um, and in order to do that, we have some steps we need to follow. So the first thing I write here is like set up the format for Excel if possible. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Like, it makes easier for your calculation. So that's what I'm going to do for myself. And next, we have to determine the cycle number. Third, we need to imply the forecast formula accordingly, whether you're going with additive ones or the multiplicative ones. We're going to do that, okay? And for the fourth step, I need to calculate my error and the squared error as well. Then moving forward, we also need to calculate the sum of squared error because our goal is to minimize the sum of squared error. And the last step for this calculation is gonna be we're gonna let solver do the magic for us. Okay. Now let's just look into it. Right, so here I've already set things up. This is what I'm talking about for the steps. At first, like I set things up, what I need to do. I need a base, I need a trend, I need my seasonal index. I have my periods already right here. I need to come up with my cycles, which I already filled that up beforehand. And I also need to do my forecast error and squared error. And here's the SSE, which stands for sum of squared error. Yeah. And this is where I'm gonna do the forecast with additive method. And here we have the same format, but this one is for the multiplicative one. Okay, now if you look here, I already put the formula for the additive forecast model. Our formula is going to be the base plus trend into period number plus seasonal index for the time period, right? And for the multiplicative one, this is the same as the additive ones, but we just need to multiply it instead of adding it, okay? And here, um, the data we have. Oh, before this, I just want to mention, shout out to my professor, Dr. Eric Rainey. I actually got this data from one of his courses. So there's no copyright issue, just to be very clear on that, okay? Yeah. So this is Rainey Grocery Store. They just want to forecast their sales for avocado for the next periods or for the certain periods of time, right? Okay, so as we said, we already have the format ready up here. So our next step is to look for our cycles. So here I already um, filled out my cycle column beforehand. So here you can see that the month is July. So to make this easier for myself, I just come up with like this is going to be my cycle 7, and moving forward it's going to be 8, 9, 10 until 12, and when it's like January it's going to be my first cycle again. Well, you can do however you like. You can always put like, let's say month of July is the first cycle for you. You can do that as well. um there's no right and wrong for that, okay? Now, here at first, I'm just gonna calculate the error first, okay? So for the error, what I need to do, I need to um, subtract the actual sales from my forecasted sales. So I'm just gonna select the forecast column minus my actual avocado sales. That's gonna give me my error. And if I drag this down, I'm gonna do it until this, and we already have the error. Now for the squared error, it's pretty simple. So we're gonna select this one, and we're gonna square it with 2, right? Okay. So this is gonna be my squared error here. I'm gonna just drag this down again. And we have our squared, all of the squared error. And now here we're just summing up the our squared error. I can show it to you again, okay? So we're just doing a sum formula here, equals to sum, open parentheses, and I'm gonna select from here until at the very end this, okay? And this is my sum of squared error, okay? Now we have everything we need except for our forecast. Now here we have to put our formula in here. If you want to have a look at this while I'm doing my calculation. So we need our base, which is this one. And we also gonna lock this one because the base is gonna be the same for the rest of the calculation. So I'm just gonna lock it in here. Plus, since it's an additive method, I'm gonna need my trend. And again, I'm gonna lock it in because trend is also similar just as base, because it's gonna be the same for all of the forecast calculation, right? And now I'm gonna multiply this with my period number, which is right here. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add my seasonal index as well. So I'm gonna do like VLOOKUP. So my VLOOKUP value is my this cycle, right? Cycle 7. Or if you're doing 1 through 12, yeah, that's going to be 1 for you. But for me, it's going to be my first one here, 7. And I'm not locking this because I want this to move forward as the cursor goes down. Okay. Now, our table array is going to be our seasonal index table here, which is this one, right? And I'm going to lock this one because our seasonal index is also going to be the same for the rest of the calculation, right? So F4. Okay. Now, the index number, column index number is going to be 2 because I want to look up the second value, the second column's value from here. Okay, so this is why I have put like 2. And I want this to be exact match, so I'm gonna put like false. So here we go. Now it's gonna show 0 because we have nothing in there. So it's gonna be 0 for now. I can move this a little forward, that's fine. Now, since we have everything all set up here, now remember our main goal is to minimize the sum of squared error. And since we have gone through all of our steps, now we will take help from solver, right? So we are going here already up here. So we have, we need to use the solver function here to minimize the sum of squared error here. Where you can find this, you will find it under the data tab here, solver. If you don't have it, you can always like go to your add-ins function here from, wait, let me show it to you. So you can always go like file, option, or get add-ins. I guess that's how I did it. Like in add-ins, you will always get the solver option and you can add from there. So I'm gonna go to my solver right here, and my objective is to minimize this one. So I just selected this column, and then I want to minimize it. So yeah, minimize here. And I also want to change the variable cells, some of the variable cells, of course, because since we do not have our base and trend and the seasonal index values, right? So this, and I'm gonna hold like control, and I'm gonna do this, right? Okay. And now I'm just trying to I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna delete this one, delete all of them. Yeah. And we are almost there. So I'm gonna just put like one constraints here, which is like the sum has to be 0. Okay. Now, before I hit solve, I want to tell you something which I'm sorry, I really forgot. So for the additive method, we always want our sum to be 0 or like closer to 0. So it's going to be equal to sum of the index values. It's going to give us 0 right now. And also our main goal is to keep it 0, as 0 we can keep, you know. Now, again, let's go to solver, and we have everything set here. I'm going to select the solving method to GRG nonlinear. I think for the additive method, the nonlinear solving method actually gives the best um, answer for it. So here we go, hit solve. Let's see. Okay. See, we have a really small amount of the sum of squared error. So it's really good for us. I'm just gonna bold it. Yeah. Okay. And our sum is like way 0. You know what I'm saying? Like it's way 0. Right. So now, since we have everything, we have our squared sum of error. It's a pretty good one. Now, what we can do, we already have our base trend, everything is there. Yeah, that's nice, right? And if you can see the actual sales and the forecast, it's not that bad. Like there's you can tell like there's no difference, right? So I'm just trying to put I'm just gonna put it in a chart, you know? Okay, let's just do this. I'm gonna do the actual avocado sales until here. And I'm also gonna add the forecasted one. I'm holding my control button here and selecting the forecasted values. Okay, now I'm gonna do this one. See? Well, you can see that we already have like two series here, series one, series two, but I really want to change the name. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to select data. So the series one, I just want to edit this. Um, okay. So for this, I want it to be named like avocado sales. Okay. And the series two, I'm going to edit this again. This is my forecasted value. Okay. And I also want to see my dates into my horizontal bar, right? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to select this one for my horizontal axis. Okay, here we go. As you can see that since the error rate is so less, um, we do have an avocado sales option here, but I guess the error is too less that both of the series are overlapping each other. And I'm just gonna change the title to avocado sales forecast. Okay, here you go. So that's pretty much about the additive ones. Okay, now let's move forward for the multiplicative one. Here, this is the same as the additive ones, but for the multiplicative ones, we just multiply it instead of adding them, right? Okay, now here again, I have my cycles up here ready. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna again look for my error here. So for the error, my forecast minus my actual sales, right? And for this, for the squared error, I can do like this, power, power to 2. Okay. Now we have um, both of our formulas ready here. I'm just gonna drag this down real quick. And here we go. We already have a sum of squared error because I guess I already set this up to the formula. Now, let's go for the forecast here. Since it's the multiplicative ones, I'm going to do like base and I'm going to log that in into my trend and I'm going to log that again. And then I have my period, which is this one, close parentheses. And then I'm gonna again multiply this with the seasonal index. And for the seasonal index, we are doing like VLOOKUP because we want to see the values here. Um, I want to find out this value here, right? Okay. So now my lookup value is gonna be my cycle number. And my table array is gonna be this one, right? And I'm just gonna F4 this. Okay, and again, I just want to see the second column's value there. So I'm just gonna put like 2. And I want an exact match, so here's false. Here you go. So we have the forecast already. I'm just gonna drag this down forward and we have our forecast already. Now we have everything set up here already, right? Now I'm gonna go to solver again. Now I just want to minimize this value, right? So I'm just selecting this, still minimizing, and I'm gonna change my variable cells, which is gonna be this, comma, this. Okay. Oh, again, I missed something. I'm so sorry. Um, so here, since we are doing the multiplicative method, so um, our goal is to um, our goal is to calculate the average of the seasonal index values, right? So for the additive ones, we do a sum. But for the average one, but for the multiplicative ones, we always look for its average. So I'm gonna do like average, and I'm gonna select this. Okay. Well, it's gonna give you this kind of error because we do not have any values up here. So yeah, it's fair. Okay, let's go to solver again. I'm really sorry for that. So we have everything set up here. We want to minimize this value right here. We want to change our values for this cells. Okay, now here I'm gonna delete this one. Instead, I'm gonna do like now I want my average to be 1 equal to 1. I'm gonna hit add. And also, we're going to use the evolutionary solution method for the multiplicative one. So in order to do that for the evolutionary one, you always need to have an upper limit and a lower limit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just select this one and I'm going to put some upper values and lower values, okay? So this should be less than or equal, let's say 500. I'm just making things up. And I'm going to do this again since we need a lower value as well. So it needs to be greater than minus 500. Okay, I'm going to add this. I'm going to do the same for the index values. So for this, it should be lower than 500 and it should be higher than minus 500, right? Okay, we have everything set up here. I'm just gonna higher, lower, higher, lower. Okay, we have everything set up. And now we're gonna select a solving method, which I'm gonna do like evolutionary, right? And now hit solve. Well, for the evolutionary method, it takes a longer time. So I'm just gonna wait and I'm just gonna hope like it doesn't take much longer time. But yeah, let's just hope for the best. So for the both methods, it's just I'm just trying to show you how to calculate with additive and multiplicative ones, but we will always go for the method that gives us like lesser amount of squared sum of error, right? So let's see what the multiplicative has first. Okay, we already have it, right? Let's see. Now, the average is pretty satisfactory. Like we wanted it to be 1 or around 1, so we got that. But if you look at the sum of squared error, that's huge, right? Compared to the additive ones. Um, well, That's what I was talking about, that sometimes you get a really good result from the additive method, whereas you do not get from the multiplicative method. But okay, again, if you see the graph here, it has kind of a similar pattern, right? Remember, I was showing it to you guys that the additive ones, the ones that's like the ones that is additive, it has kind of a similar pattern over the period of time. So maybe the best option for the forecast of this avocado cells is the additive ones and not the multiplicative one. Again, you can do you can put some you can insert some charts in here like the previous ones. Let's just do it. It's gonna be super quick. Okay, so I'm gonna select this one, and also I'm gonna hit control and select this one as well. Oops. Right. So now I'm gonna do like insert this one. Ooh. Hmm. See, I think is it right? Yeah, it doesn't even touch the actual forecast, right? Yeah, if you can see, like it's the actual sales is like 160 for the second period, whereas the forecast is like 0.0003. Yeah, it's really bad, right, guys? Well, that's it. You can always change the series name as I just showed you before. Um, add some title to the chart, and yeah, that's it. We can always edit the axis levels here. Well, that's all from me. I hope you guys learned something from me. And again, I'm really sorry if I did something wrong. I will really appreciate if you guys can tell me where I can make things right or make this in a better way. So please let me know, and I hope you enjoyed this. Well, um that's all from me, okay? You have a good evening.